In this video, it's time to take the manifold off again. This feels awfully familiar, but we seem to have a leak from the base of the carburetor, which is causing it to run quite lean, which is what's making the plugs go white. It wasn't what I thought it was at the start, earlier on in the previous video. So it is the fact there's an air leak sucking in too much air. So we need to get the carburetor off. And to do that, we've got to get the manifold off, which means I can replace the manifold with a broken one, take the broken one off rather than fit the one I should have fitted last time. So we're getting there. I've got a new hose to go on here as well. I've got new rubbers for the gear change here. In fact, I bought the full kit of washers, clips, everything is going to be refreshed there to hopefully stop the gear lever buzzing. So not much more to do other than get into it. But just before I do, I just want to give a last shout for the anniversary t-shirts and hoodies. The mugs sold out, but we've got the hoodies available at £25 plus postage and packaging. T-shirts are reduced to £9 plus postage and packaging. So they're the cheapest t-shirts and hoodies we have, because obviously they're 2020. They're dating a little. Very limited edition. We won't be running these again. So if you want one, now is the time to head to hubnut.org and buy one. I've also got a few Petrolhead hippie shirts left. Only a couple now, I think. Obviously, we won't be redoing those because I don't look like a hippie, even though I'm still slightly hippie-ish in my leanings. So, yeah, available hubnut.org. But we should get into this. Stage 1, air filter assembly off. Then alternator off. Move the wiring out of the way. And get the heat exchangers off. Just quickly talk about heat exchangers. I'll bring you in for a closer look. So the heat exchanger, I think they're the same sort of deal on a Volkswagen Beetle, but it's this box here. So not only have you got the air drawn in through the engine, blowing through the cowling and picking up heat and coming through here and then via the cardboard tube into the car, you've also got the exhaust pipe running right through the middle of it. And that also sort of gives you a bit of a heater boost. The heater is actually fairly effective in these, albeit works at its best in summer when you're on a motorway. If you're pottering around town in on a cold winter's day and the engine's not revving, you're not getting much heat. You can buy aftermarket inline heater fans. They don't have one as standard. You've just got this big fan on the front of the engine. So if that's spinning quickly, you get a nice bit of air coming through. Downside of such a design, if the cylinder head is leaking, those gases get straight into the air that's coming in through the heater. And similarly, if you get exhaust leaks from the manifold or around this first clamp, that can also push fumes into the heating system. Less than ideal. So you have to be mindful of these things, but it's very simple, very effective. So we shall make a start. First thing is to get this off. We can finally throw this in the bin because I have a replacement in my box of stuff here from ECAS 2CV Parts. Let's cover my address up. But there we go, they've even got a 2CV on their label. All parts paid for, and declaring that now. I just like ECAS 2CV Parts. They've supplied 2CV parts for a very, very long time. And I've bought so much off them over the years. Apparently I bought this in 2011, Roy was able to tell me, because I had a feeling I'd bought one and lost it. It's possible I have at a show somewhere, but yeah, that's due replacement. These don't last as long as they used to. But you know, 10 years, maybe not so bad. So we'll get that off, and because of course that could be another source of leakage. I don't think it is. I think this tape has done a sterling job. I fitted it on the way to Croatia back in 2019. But anyway, less waffle, more doing. So in a way, this is quite annoying to be doing this job again. But to be honest, I had some gasket issues. I made one of the gaskets on the base of the carburetor last time. And I'm not entirely convinced that was a successful make, judging by the fact it's leaking again. So I probably would have ended up doing this job again. It would have been more annoying if I'd actually used a decent brain. Brain is utterly confuddled because we've had a couple of sleepless nights thanks to dogs. Dogs blowing at both ends in the middle of the night. Not fun. Very thankful she jumped off the bed before doing that though. So that's our knackered hose off. But yeah, definitely starting to tarnish. Bye bye. I'll tidy up that mess later on. Put the hose clips, I was just about to put them on the battery. Maybe we won't put metal items on the battery. The internet does tend to find such things upsetting. So we've got an 11mm nut and two 16s or 17s, you're never sure what, holding the air filter on. So yeah, we're very sleepless night. That's why Miss Hubnut's not here today, because she got even less sleep than I did trying to reassure a slightly confused and mildly upset dog. So yeah, it's been great times, and my brain is not really functioning, so it'd be interesting to see what sort of words I come out with today. I was going to really rush this job and get out for a drive, because we now have freedom in Wales. We can explore all of Wales. We are no longer tied to 5 miles from our home, so we could go out exploring, but the weather's rubbish, as is typically the way. The weather's beautiful until the exact moment we're no longer forbidden to travel. Where's my 16mm? I wonder if a 5/8 will get that off. Very annoying that Citroen mix up the nut sizes. Yeah, 5/8 is just the job, it turns out. Yeah, I'm also sorry the videos haven't been better lately. I mean, me washing a car, I'm appreciative that is not cutting edge. I've got a lot of very exciting stuff coming in the next few weeks here on Hubnut. I'm looking forward to sharing more details with you. Some very interesting road tests. We've got some interesting cars joining the fleet, albeit some are definitely not on a permanent basis. But nonetheless, I'm very excited. And now wondering where my extension is and my 11mm socket. Oh, because I haven't tinkered for a few days. I've forgotten where everything is. Times like this, I'm full of admiration for parents, because they very often are functioning on not enough sleep. Move this heater hose out the way. That one's held in just by baler twine, because you don't want your cardboard hoses falling onto a hot exhaust. Most people consider that most undesirable. I've already got the battery disconnected, because we're going to be disconnecting the alternator wiring, and that can get very sparky, as I know from personal experience. Get this nut and washer off. So I don't know how far we'll get with today's video. I might get this all finished, I might not. But regardless, I need to get something up and out, because I don't know if you noticed, the videos aren't very regular at the moment either. It's been very difficult to try and find time to record stuff. We should put the ratchet on the table. I have a new table. My landlady gave me a table, which is very kind of her. What have we got down here? We got the wiring connected to the thing by a cable tie. That's a job for snips, because there was a metal clip here originally. If you own a 2CV, give that metal clip a check, because it'll chafe through the wiring. And well, another one of those things considered fairly undesirable. It's amazing how these things add up. Daihatsu Charade. I did the Daihatsu Charade diary and forgot to mention brakes. Brakes have been an utter fiasco. I keep ordering the wrong parts. Wrong pad retaining clips. I got there in the end. Wrong pads. We seem to have got the right discs. But then when we discovered everything else was wrong, it was just like, you know what, there's still plenty of meat on these brakes. We'll just leave it for now. So at some point we will be doing brakes on the Charade, but not anytime soon. So we'll just keep using that car. It's 10mm on the back of the alternator. Marvellous, that's great. Fills me with joy when things fall on the floor. I love my life. It's just been that chaotic the past few days. We've fallen behind a bit on shop, so we usually aim to dispatch. Why isn't that fitting? That should be a 10. We aim to dispatch within 2 working days normally. Fallen a bit behind on that. We've still got orders from Wednesday. Today is Sunday. I'm hoping to get this video out today, because after all, video is king, not the merchandise. The merchandise supports the videos, not the other way around. So we need to get those orders done. Hopefully we'll do so later today do some packing and get back on track. But a reminder, we've got the Power Less is More hoodies and Tuck hoodies available, but they're pre-order items, so you can't buy those straight away. Well, you can place the order, we have to order them in, so dispatch time's a bit longer on the hoodies, but it's a good way of us not having to hold a massive stock of stuff in. Wiring can stay there, that's fine. It's going to be heat exchangers next, I think, and then disconnect the carburetor. But let's do the heat exchangers next. That's back on the 11mm or 7/16 in this case, but I'm going to need a spanner to back up my ratchet. Now I have a toolbox down here with all the common stuff in it. The problem being it's become slightly overrun with lots of tools. I need to go through it and put some of them back in the tool chests you see behind me. I do actually use those. You don't often see me use those, but they do contain a lot of tools. I might take you through them one day, but I think we better do some actual car content first. That might go on the second channel, Hub Notes. One word, Hub Notes. So go and check out Hub Notes if you haven't already. That would be very generous of you. I'm going to need another metallic pot. I'm going to use a non-metallic one for the exhaust. I'll put all the nuts and bolts for that. Right, I think that's enough thrilling footage of the back of my head. I'll come back to you later. Petrol pump disconnected from the carburetor, pumping into this bottle here, and I'm just going to run the engine sans exhaust, so it's going to be loud, just to try and empty the carburetor float bowl. See how long she'll run without a fuel supply. Hopefully she'll run out of fuel before the bottle fills up. That was it, I think. I think we've run out of fuel. I'll just give her another crank just to try. Yep, I'd say that's going to be pretty empty. That's quite interesting. You can see how much fuel the engine has pumped in just that short time. Blimey. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of some previous soft drink in there, so I don't think I'll be reusing that. That has become cleaning petrol, I think. Now that's good, because you use petrol to clean the air filter, which hopefully I will demonstrate in either this or a future video. But these manifold bolts, especially the ones on the inlet here, are one reason I was so reluctant to just whip the manifold off again last time, because they can undo strip threads in the head. You have to get the alignment spot on, so it makes me very nervous doing this job. I'm actually showing you what I'm doing here, although I will just reiterate the point that these videos are not meant to be instructional. This is just following me as I make a mess of doing simple tasks on cars. Alright, so now on to these tricky manifold nuts, which are quite easy to lose. There we go. Try not to drop any washers. Oh, it's a lot easier than a Rover 75. Or in this Primera, that car also proving an utter pig to work on. Break out my favourite ratchet to do this little cover on the top. This is the air cooling for the alternator. Alternators get quite hot. There we go, just need to slacken those bolts and get that little cover off. That can go in there. 14s, I said, didn't I? Yeah, and as is usually the case, you can just hold the nut by hand, especially when it's not been off all that long ago. We've got a very long bolt, goes right through the exhaust manifold down here. Should be a shake-proof washer on the back, but I appear to be missing that. Nonetheless, it hadn't come undone, so I think we'll say that doesn't matter too much. Ellie did once lose her alternator bolt, one of these. She managed to throw it at a BMW that had been tailgating me. Always sticks up for me, does this car. So I should now be able to get the alternator off and hook it from the belt. There we go. Why aren't you coming off yet? There we go. Alternator is free. I could do with just doing something to hold that in place. Maybe the big old ratchet will do, just to hold some tension on the belt so the alternator belt doesn't fall into the cavity. Because if the fan belt comes off the fan, I've then got to take the fan off, which is just more faff that I do not want. So we'll get down here and get this nut started and this nut started, and we are almost ready to take the manifold off. And you've almost had this in real time, so I've not been editing this down particularly. But apparently it is very easy for the base of the carburetor to warp, which allows for massive air leaks. No matter how good your gaskets, and I suspect mine are terrible, it's going to leak. So we're going to get it off. We're going to check the base of the carburetor is flat, and we're going to fit the correct manifold, most importantly. There we go, that's the final nuts and washer away, so they go in that pot for safety. I should now be at the stage we can lift the manifold clear. Yes, there we go. Gasket there, gasket there. This gasket has stayed on the manifold. Please come off, gasket, I don't have to replace you. Beautiful. That's all fine. In that manifold, gaskets have stayed in place, so that's good. Thread that out through the wiring loom, and we've got the alternator off. And here is my repair from last time, which surprisingly has held up, so that's good. So with the alternator now down at floor level, I could put it on my table if I hadn't already filled the table with complete crap. It's a case of getting these 4 nuts undone, slackening them off bit by bit, to get the carburetor off the manifold. What were Citroen thinking with this mess? Yeah, I just can't get anything in on that one. I must have got something in, because it actually came undone last time, one presumes. But yeah, there's blockage to get a socket down, so I can't do that. I think I just need a skinnier 12mm. Ah, there we go. Just get that one in. I'll slacken those off. We won't go crazy because we don't want to be deforming the manifold. And then these ones at the front, just horrific. There we go, we've got all the nuts spinning, so we can slacken the tension off on all of them. So the carburetor is a twin choke Solex, which is why you get a lovely induction noise as you open up that second choke. So most of the time you're running on a single choke, so it's a smaller choke, so it makes for better fuel efficiency. It just kicks in the second one when you need the extra grunt. And grunt may be a strange phrase to use on a car with what would have had 29 pound-foot of torque when brand new, and 29 brake horsepower as well. But nonetheless, that's what they are. I was going to have a cup of tea, wasn't I? I haven't had my cup of tea yet, but nonetheless, we'll get this off. We'll hide this manifold from myself. It's a little bracket off the back that holds the throttle on, or the throttle cable, and we'll get the ones at the front. There we go. Now the carburetor should come off the manifold, and verily it almost does. Let's see, that gasket's looking quite good. I think that's an original gasket. Yeah, that's definitely not one I've made. So that gasket was okay. You might put that to one side for emergency use. Then you got the insulator block, and we will just check that to make sure there are no cracks in it. These can crack and become a source of air leaks themselves, but no, I'm going to declare that is good. And then we got my gasket down here, and yeah, that's not very good at all. That's a right soggy mess. They get very badly affected by heat. This manifold we shall put in the bin. Nod to Mighty Car Mods there. And we shall make sure we use this manifold, which doesn't have a rotten pipe with a hole in it. So that's the one we're going to use. I need to clean up these surfaces. Let's have them the same way around for comparison's sake. Okay, I don't know how well this is going to work, but this is a piece of glass. This is a rear window from a 2CV. This is from Daisy, the 2CV, who now exists only in spares form of the back of the unit. We're hoping one day we might rebuild her. But yeah, Citroen Birmingham. I've been there a few times. Small Heath Highway in Birmingham. Yeah, I don't know if they still do Citroen. I once drove a Zara Picasso when they were brand new. Bearing in mind I was quite young at the time, I'm amazed they just said, yep, here's the keys, off you go. So I had my first drive in a Zara Picasso. I had no intention of buying it at all because new cars are expensive. I wonder if I had Myrtle at the time, it's a thought. But anyway, the point of using this is glass is flat. So I'm going to grab the carburetor, minus that gasket, and we've got some bits hanging down beneath glass level. That's annoying, but hopefully I can find a corner. Can I set it flat? This might not be as possible as I thought. Steel ruler as a flat. Let's see whether we got any warping going on. Yeah, I'd say that's not entirely flat that way. Yeah, there's definitely a bit of bowing going on. It's all a matter of crud in here as well. Let's try going across. I can't bring you in any closer, I'm afraid, because this camera really doesn't do macro mode. Right, this may well make petrol go everywhere. I'll try and invert the carburetor. The carburetor should be empty in theory, but no guarantee it will be. Yeah, I think I might just try gently filing. If nothing else, it's getting a lot of previous gasket crap off. It's a bit fluffy down here for my liking. There's definitely a bit of gaskety crap, which certainly isn't going to help. All that stuff away. Let's just check this diagonal again. Yeah, that's looking flatter, I should say. Do I look like I know what I'm doing? Because I really don't. But I think I'm going to conclude that that is actually fairly smooth. Let's just get some carb cleaner to blast that out. Go and find that. There's our new hose to go on top of the carburetor. And here are the new gaskets. These are better quality. Yeah, there are two in there, just checking. And heat resistant, apparently. Oh, that one hasn't had the hole punched out fully. There we go. Right, so let's have a bit of a rearrange here. Let's get rid of the glass because I don't think we need that anymore. Let's clean up the ruler and put that back in its case. Yeah, actually do things properly and put things away, but that is a very nice ruler. So here comes our manifold. See if you're actually seeing the table. Yes, you are. That's good. And yeah, it seems clean enough, I think. We might just clean out the runners because it's a bit rusty down there. Hopefully that's all going to be good, and then we can start fitting the new gaskets. So they have to be heat proof because obviously this is the exhaust manifold, and that's a little balancer pipe there, but also pre-warms the carburetor. I don't remember which way the carburetor goes. We need the insulator block. This is a bit better than working on the floor, isn't it? So the insulator block, let's clean that up as well. Clean everything up. Make sure everything's as clean as it can be. Go clean the other side as well. Just so this is as flat as possible, so it's not another source of leak. There we go. I guess that block doesn't sit on there very well. Let's try it the other way up. There we go. Yeah, that's more central. That's good. And then we can plonk the carburetor on. That's the front of the car in this case, so the carburetor needs to be the other way around. I haven't put the other gasket on. Originally they had no gaskets at all from the factory. There's a little nugget for you. The carburetor drops on like so. And then we've got the fun game of reattaching all the nuts. My Casio F91W is beeping somewhere, the alarm's going off. I'm yet to actually wear it on my wrist. I've kind of got a habit of wearing watches. Now the frustrating stage of just gently nipping up each bolt in turn. Well, I say in turn, but you kind of do a bit on one, then you go and do a bit on another one. I'll get this one down to about there. I'll head off on the diagonal and do the one on the back here, which I just get a ring on. Then we'll do a bit more on this one over here, and a bit more on this one over here, and just gradually work our way around, not wanging any one up until we're sure all the others are getting close. It's ridiculous that you kind of need a special tool. There is a tool that allows you to do these bolts without removing the manifold, but it's kind of ridiculous that such a thing is necessary. But we have to remove the manifold anyway. Can't get a ring on that. There's two you can get a ring on and two you definitely can't. So I think we're ready to drop the manifold back on. We'll just check all the gaskets are in place. Yes, they are. Might not be a bad idea to just run a file quickly over the exhaust manifolds. Yeah, there's a bit of flaky crap that doesn't hurt to get rid of, certainly. Maybe get cobwebs out, even though it's blasting that way through the exhaust. There we go, it's starting to look good. I can see some original file marks on this one. There is our pinhole on the bottom of the carburetor. So this point is where overflow comes out if there's too much petrol in the carburetor. So we shall carefully not drop carburetor onto that. I shall spin you around and we shall fit this back to the car. I hope the inlet manifold gaskets don't fall off while we're trying to do it. There we go. Now begin the unenviable task of refitting the manifold. Go, that's going in quite nicely. Oh, this is pleasing. It's always nice when these ones go in nicely. Get the nuts back on and the washers. I don't know, eh? Torque wrenches on hub nut. Who knew? There we go. 14 pound-foot, and we shall now take the weight off the spring. Now it's heat exchangers first, but I may get the alternator on. I think it's easier to get the alternator on before you fit the exhaust. So we shall drop this into place. I've got this ratchet holding the belt. Yeah, this gets a lot harder if you've already got the exhaust manifold on. Let's get tension on the belt. There we go. Now we can tighten up the 14 to full tightness. Start feeling like we're actually getting somewhere. Heat exchangers, all these exhaust clamps, bit of a pain in the arse. So all I can say is, it's looking pretty good. Get the alignment, eyeball it as much as you can before you get started, and then gently start doing them up. And again, it's a bit like the carburetor nuts. You have to go around and sort of tighten each clamp in sequence, really. I do use the big Burton clamps. They're 47mm clamps for most of the exhaust, 49 for most of the system, 47 for the swan neck down there. And these are big clamps, they do help. Copper grease I need though, because I usually use that in lieu of actual exhaust paste. Right, I think we're ready for a trial run. Let's just make sure there's no wires touching the exhaust manifold. I think we're all good. Oh, connecting up the fuel might be an idea. I knew there was something. Okay. Come on, little hose clip. You want to go there. Okay. Fuel on. Should be good to go. She'll take a bit of cranking. She'll have to refill the float bowl before she'll actually fire up. Make sure those cables aren't getting anywhere near the starter wiring. And here we go. I'm just going to need some choke. Move that, that's just sitting on the exhaust there, that's all pretty. I'm going to go around with a hammer and every exhaust clamp I'm going to do this on. And then tighten, go, and on this one, I think she's running better myself. Can't get a clear run at that one. I'd say she's sounding better than ever. I did have some valve clearance noise, so that's gone away now we've adjusted those. We found one was a bit slack. Choke isn't quite releasing cleanly. I'm not very happy about that, but might be a job for another day. Well, she's sounding absolutely superb, but I'm running out of time. I need to get home and edit this video. So further works are going to have to wait, including refitting the bodywork. We've got the greasing is still to be done. The air filter still needs changing. Still lots to do, but let's go for a drive anyway. Right, let's hope this works. You're strapped to the front. You're actually outside the car, I'm inside the car with the microphone, so it'll sound a bit weird. But we shall go for a drive. Hello, Shemmy. Yep, she's feeling pretty good. Oh yeah. Good old Ellie, she's sounding in fine fettle. Not my Sierras. Marvellous. So that's going to be us done, I think. She's sounding good. She's running well. I'm really happy. She sounds much happier than she did. That idle is so much cleaner and steadier, so very happy with that. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry it's taking 3 episodes to get a service done on a 2CV. That's life sometimes. And yeah, head to the Hubnut store if you would fancy, hubnut.org for all the lovely merchandise. Otherwise, I shall see you in a future video. Farewell.